Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Guiding Spirit event, in which Astral Spirit and Moa are both added to the game, so let's get into that. Of course, both of these are just 300 packs, because Astral Spirit is only an ultra rare, and even though it's epic, I end up upgrading it. And Moa is just a common, even though I upgraded that one too. Just needed to get a few of them. I wouldn't advise getting too many of either. Maybe some of Astral Spirit if you want to get a specific yellow blue up, because there are quite a bit of yellow blues in the game right here. Probably takes like over 100 arcane trait stones if you were to trade all of them. I still have several that aren't traded yet. But Astral Spirit, actually a very good troop for once. I shouldn't say for once. Actually, a lot of the recent troops have been fairly interesting. There's been like one very interesting one, and then like one that's kind of meh every single time, I felt like. Anyways, when they do two. Anyways, it is a true damage dealer, and it is actually the first troop in the game that has an empowered ability combined with a gem removal. There's barely any troops in the game that can remove all gems. Tyree's the main one that pretty much everyone uses because you can use it for map farm. But now there is another one, and she removes all gems of a chosen color, deals true damage to the first enemy, and that's boosted by the amount of gems removed. So if you're removing something like 10 gems, that's an extra 5 true damage. So that's going to be quite a bit of extra damage there. And of course, she does have that empowered if you get her fully traded. She is an ultra rare, despite the coloring of this card. I end up upgrading it once. She is an ultra rare, so she does only cost 3 arcane trait stones to upgrade her. That's why I end up buying like 6 of her just to get her leveled. And so I could easily just get her ability up, since now we have 3 to spare since we bought 6. And she has Air Spirit, which works pretty good with other Divinion Field troops. Divinion Fields has a lot of yellow troops, so she works pretty good with that, since she'll actually be able to get like +2, +3, +4 damage with this Air Spirit, which is +1 magic per yellow, so that's quite a bit. And she has immunity to Death Mark, which is also pretty good, because Death Mark is actually very powerful right now, and there's no signs that they're going to be nerfing it, especially that they're adding more troops that have immunities to it. So definitely really good that it has Death Mark immunity there. So Astral Spirit is definitely a very, very strong troop. She's also undead, and you can even make a full undead team out of all true damage too, which is pretty powerful. As far as Centaurs, she doesn't really have as much synergy with Centaurs unless you just go a full Divinion Fields team. Leaving Divinion Fields with her trying to like pair them up might not work that well. Maybe something like Golvania she'll work with, since she is undead. But other than that, very strong troop. And of course we have Moa, which for many of you is basically the first time that stun is being introduced to you. It was previously a couple of days ago when Stone Troll was added to the game, but he had it on his second ability, so you needed like 8 red purple arcanes in order to get it. So this is basically the first instance that everyone will be able to use the new mechanic of stun. Stun, if you don't know already, prevents any traits from being used on the troop that is stunned, and it just wears off like any other ability. So not that useful early game, but as you start seeing troops with fully traded, probably more towards like level 100 plus, especially level 500 plus, something like a stun mechanic will be very, very powerful. And luckily Moa has it completely covered. It does stun whenever it does skull damage, plus it has stun on its ability, which only costs 7 mana. So very, very powerful if you need a good stunning troop. And it's basically the only troop currently that even does it, so don't really have many choices. It has the fast trait, so fast does round down. It gives half mana. That means Moa will start off with 3 mana if you have the fast trait, which if you set a banner to yellow, it doesn't even matter if you surge. The first yellow you'll take, you'll automatically have Moa's ability. And even though it's nothing special, this troop is actually the first troop in the game to have Earhart as well, which is +1 life for each yellow on the team. I'm not a huge fan of any of the heart ones, which give 1 life per ally. I feel like they should be 2, because 1 is very little compared to troops that have +1 for things like magic and attack and stuff like that. Magic and attack is just so much better than that 1 HP. But that is what he has, and it will make him slightly more tanky, but 1 HP, a couple more HP is not going to make that much of a difference. Mainly fast and knockout that's doing all of the work on this troop. Anyways, let's get into some teams, but before I do, let me give out a redeem code real quick. I am actually going on a schedule for redeem codes now. I'm going to be doing a redeem code on my YouTube channel 3 times a week and my Twitch 3 times a week. You guys already know that. But I'll be having it on a schedule now. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will be doing redeem codes on my YouTube channel. And Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I will be doing it on my Twitch. Twitch.tv/Tacet, no spaces. I do a video every day on my YouTube, as most of you know, and I try to stream every day on my Twitch. Sometimes I don't if I don't have enough time. But I try to get at least a couple hours in every day for it. But that is basically my schedule in regard to everything Gems of War, streaming, YouTube related, and the redeem code schedule. And of course, redeem codes are PC and mobile only, unfortunately. None for you consoles. I wish they would expand it, but it's a cross-platform issue. The console versions aren't cross-platform due to legal reasons. But yeah, the first 200 people who claim this on PC and mobile get the normal reward. It is DZFRTRFENH. And that gives the normal reward of 2 treasure maps, 1 gem key, 200 souls, and 2,500 gold. And while we're here, it brings us back to the main menu. Let's just use that gem key real quick, see what we get from it. And a Spirit Fox, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, we use that in one of the teams. If not, Spirit Fox is actually very, very powerful. I've done many videos on it before. But let's go into some teams with the Divinion Fields troop. Of course, the Divinion Fields now has 10 troops this week, thanks to the new 2 that were just introduced, so it's very easy to upgrade. Actually, I have, thanks to Divinion Fields being upgraded now, I have every single kingdom upgraded except for Adana, which I technically could upgrade Adana, but surprisingly, the only trait stone that I'm missing are minor reds. If you guys don't know yet, minor reds are actually the rarest trait stone in the game. No, not really rare, as in they're harder to obtain, but there's more red troops in this game than any other color for some reason. So red gets depleted the quickest out of any trait stone type. So keep that in mind if you see a troop with red, because red miners are the most valuable miner trait stone in this game right now. So let's get into some teams with these. We'll start off, of course, with the new one of Mo, starting off at the commons, because Mo is a common, despite the fact that it has the green border. I end up ascending it once. But I end up making it with a full mana burn team. So we have knockout to make sure traits won't do anything, and then a bunch of mana burn. We have mana drains, I should be saying, not mana burn. 2 completely different mechanics, actually. Mana drain. So we have Scion doing 5 mana drain on everything, Moloch, who does a full mana drain, and of course Famine, who does a full mana drain to everything. Unfortunately, he is a mythic, legend, and a common. But there's of course other decks that you can make it with that are a lot cheaper. But I figured I'd make this. It's kind of a cycle deck just to make sure they don't cast and to make sure they can't trait. It just completely disables them, and eventually you'll kill them out with either true damage or the damage that you have from Mo. And something that's nice about Mo is he can target anyone with his stun. So you can target anything as long as it doesn't have a stealthy on it. And that's 2 things to remember with stun. Well, for one, with his targeted ability, you're not going to be able to stun something with stealthy unless all the other stealthies are dead. But with the stun mechanic in general, you actually can't stun something that has impervious, even though stun is kind of the counter to all traits. Well, impervious still stops stun, so keep that in mind when trying to use stuns, because it won't work on impervious, despite the fact that stun disables all traits. Also, when using things like on skull damage, keep in mind that when you do knockouts, skull damage, whenever you do any traits that the troops have, will trigger before you do the ability or before you do the actual damage of the skulls. Like, for instance, if something has stone skin, that's 50% skull reduction. That will reduce this down to 8 damage, even though it's doing the knockout. The knockout doesn't take effect until after the damage has been done. It doesn't take place before. So keep that in mind with things that have, like, skull counters and stuff like that, or casting counters like stealthy, because the effect doesn't occur until after they're stunned, not before they're stunned. So that is Mo. Next up is actually a full Divinion Field team. You could even replace the Centaur Scout with the Mo that we just showed, and it is actually a full 4. You get the full bonus of 4 Centaurs and the full bonus of 4 Divinion Fields. So very powerful. That's 4 life, or 8 life total, 1 magic, and 3 attacks. So that's quite a bit of bonus. It's particularly good since it doesn't give any armor at all, and armor, of course, in most instances is the worst the worst stat in the game. But we have Centaur Scout here. He just deals some damage to the first one. Also destroys a bunch of gems in that row, which will give you a little bit of trickle of the mana. That's also why we have the yellow green bandage set here, so we can keep getting Orion and Centaur Scout up. Orion here gets a little bit of extra attack, has that immunity to silence. But the main thing, of course, is once that Centaur Scout dies, he has True Shot on his ability, 75% chance to ignore armor and do true damage. So that's going to be 29 attack, as you can see on this one, from the extra 2 from Siege. And what makes this particularly good is the new Astral Spirit that we have deals true damage to the first troop. So that combined with Orion, one Astral Spirit plus an Orion is basically you just killed anything in the game. Unless it's like a Gorgotha with 75% reduction. Or maybe even 50% might stop you. But still, that's a lot of damage. True damage too. And Bull Taurus. Bull Taurus got a buff recently. He used to have a 1-to-2 ratio. As of 2.01 on PC and mobile, he now has a 1-to-1 ratio. So that 8 extra life that we get total from having 4 Centaurs and 4 Divinion Fields is giving him a huge boost for his HP, which is a whole extra 8 damage, plus the 1 for magic. So that's a whole 9 extra damage just for the team composition. So very, very powerful. Astral Spirit, for the most part, I'll show it again later with the Astral decks, or another deck, I should say. But Astral Spirit is very good in the last 2 slots because it can remove any single gem that there is. So regardless of what the board is like, Astral Spirit will be able to use it. And for the most part, the last 2 slots are the only 2 slots you'll ever want to put an Astral Spirit in to fully utilize its removing capabilities that it has. Normally with Tyri, you put it up in second because she has a very high base attack. But with Astral Spirit, she is a bit more balanced in that regard. So you don't have to have her all the way up front like you would with a Tyri. Next up, we have Stargazer with a pretty common deck. Just Mercy, Inferno King, Shegra, and Stargazer. Of course, Stargazer up on Mercy. Mercy fills up Inferno King. Then you just completely destroy everything with skulls. Very common deck. I've showed it before, but I figured I show it again. Some other things that Stargazer works pretty well with. She works good with War, works good with Cyclops, because they both boost by attack. And that's pretty much it. Unless you're using like a different Skull Spammer team, maybe with Orion or something. You want to make sure whatever you use Stargazer with actually benefits from having higher attack. You don't want to just put it on like a normal troop for the most part. Like in this case, we do put it on Mercy, but that's because we have excessive skull spam to back it up. So unless you really have the skull spam to back it up, you want to put it on something that has a good skull ability to assist with the extra attack, or uses the extra attack for something. Next up, we have a Pegasus build. Pegasus is pretty much a very neglected troop. It isn't a horrible troop, but early game it's fairly strong, but then there's kind of no purpose for it later on, especially with how valuable yellows are to many teams. Even in this team, it somewhat denies it, but we have the Alchemist for that, who creates a bunch of yellows. It deals damage to the last enemy and then boosted by 2-to-1 on the yellows that it removes. Only 8 mana, which makes it decent, plus the fact that it gets Arcane, so it can start to rack up a lot of extra damage for that. But for the most part, you could use it with something like a Rockworm, something like an Alchemist or Mercy. But in most teams, yellow is pretty valuable. So unless you're actually using this to counter like a Maul or something, you probably wouldn't need it. Even then, it wouldn't really counter a Maul since it attacks the last troop and not the first. But Pegasus still fairly decent early on. For the most part, you can ignore this troop due to how most of the troops that hit like the back troop kind of fall off. Like Ferret is decent early on, same as Pegasus, but as soon as people start getting like higher HP and armor, you don't really need to hit the last troop, and it becomes more and more, not exactly useless, but not needed in any team. So that's kind of Pegasus. Kind of just there as a troop. There's a lot of troops. There's probably like the bottom 25% of the troops in this game are kind of troops that kind of get swiped under the rug and almost never used. Here we have a Herdmaster deck. Herdmaster was nerfed recently, or most people would consider it a nerf. He has Airlink as his third trait instead of the Impervious that he used to have. A lot of troops got their Impervious removed in order to make sure the buffed Impervious wasn't completely overpowered in this game. Currently only 8 troops have Impervious, and he did have to lose his. But he lost it for Airlink, which if you place it with something like an Alchemist or a Mercy who creates a bunch of yellow, he'll still work very well. And of course, Herdmaster is one of only two troops currently in the game that cleanses everything. Herdmaster and Mercy both do it currently. So, of course, in most instances, you would go a Mercy instead of a Herdmaster, simply because she has Empowered on her ability, which makes her 1,000 times better since you can cast it at any time you choose. But if you were to use it, I just put it with a Paladin and a Silent One. Silent One is actually a very, very good troop to use with Herdmaster, because Silent One ends up silencing itself, which is the only troop in the game that places a negative effect on itself from casting. And Herdmaster can just remove that by casting its ability, cleanse it right off, and you're good to go. So a fairly good combination. And Paladin we have for most of our damage source here, doing a bunch of damage based on his armor. And Herdmaster and Alchemist will easily be able to get all of the mana that you need. Next up, we have Astral Spirit, and I did end up using this. We actually have 3 Empowered on this deck. We have the Spirit Fox Lead, we have Soothsayer, and we have Astral Spirit. So you have so many choices with this team to use from the very start. Soothsayer we'll have here, who's going to be buffing our magic, and all 3 of the others have a true damage. All of them do true damage. This is even true damage and poison. So you'll easily be able to just hit things out. Actually, in many cases, Astral Spirit plus a Spirit Fox is going to be a kill, because they both have a 2-to-1 ratio and they're both doing true damage. So, and they both have Empowered. So from the second turn, you can just get a free kill without even really doing much effort. Plus have a lot of board control. You have Remove on Astral. You have Remove Yellow on Spirit Fox, and you have a great plus Destroy with the Soothsayer. So you have a massive amount of board control with this game from the very first turn, too. And Miss Stalker will kind of just be there for pickoffs and everything like that. So a very strong team to consider with Astral Spirit. Next up, Ragna Gourd. Ragna Gourd is pretty weak. Early on in the game, when you don't have any traits, he is actually better than Gorgotha in many instances, mostly because you won't be exploding as many. Your explode value will probably be somewhere around like 4 to 8-ish. And being able to choose a color where Gorgotha just randomly hits them wherever is actually really good, because you'll be able to know pretty much where everything's going to be dropping, and you'll have a better control of knowing what colors you'll be getting. And you can even count it out if you wanted to take that kind of time. But in the late game, his traits are absolutely horrible for the most part, and you really don't need to do it. His magic gets so high that he won't even be able to explode, or he'll be exploding every single gem, but there might only be like 10, 11, 12 gems, so he ends up getting so much extra magic, which he doesn't even need. So Gorgotha is definitely better in late game, but if you happen to find a Ragna Gourd while you're still pretty low level, probably under 100, you can level him up. Just don't trade him, and he'll be better than a Gorgotha early, until you start getting traits, and Gorgotha is much better. But we put him with a little bit of a bonus team here. We have Wild Folk and a little bit of Pan's Veil for the extra bonus. 4 Wild Folk, 3 Pan's Veil, which is going to be giving all those stat bonuses. And we kind of just have this here to do Blade Dancer, just keep casting over and over again. Very good at taking out armor. And then Savasi with the attack. If Blade Dancer dies, he steals a bunch of attack, gains it, steals it from the enemy, making theirs go lower, his go higher. And Faunessa, really good against anything that ends up getting a high attack. Just don't use it on the ones you hit Savasi with, and she'll do the exact amount of their attack as damage. So, Ragna Gourd in general, early game troop, don't really need it later on. Next up, Ilana, another fairly weak a fairly weak troop from Divinion Fields. She's kind of been left behind in all the buffing that's been, like, let's just compare her real quick to Behemoth. For 13 mana, she does 17 damage to all. I would compare that to Behemoth, who does 17 damage to all, plus destroys 10 gems. But he only has a 1 mana higher for that, plus he has much, much better traits than Ilana currently has. For the most part, you do not actually need Ilana. You can get her. She is the epic that you get for completing Divinion Fields. If you need a full AoE troop like so badly, you can get her if you want. But for the most part, you really don't need her. Unless she gets buffed sometime in the future. She's kind of been left behind in patches. And this is still like her same stats that she had since the beginning of the game. So she could use a little bit of a buff. Kind of just ignore her for the most part. But we put her with a full Behemoth, just full AoE. Plus we have Marilith doing full AoE. A little bit lower, but it is true damage. Plus she destroys gems just like how Behemoth destroys gems. So you'll be able to cycle quite a bit of mana with that. But Ilana, for the most part, you don't really need to consider too much. Also, also, you might notice we actually have a lot of banners here. We've been using brown, yellow in. The main reason I do this for is, well, they happen to work good with these themes. But because of how excessive mercies are in this game right now, I pretty much always need to have a +1 yellow or something that removes yellow. If I don't have one of the two, it's going to be a little bit annoying when facing mercies. Just because it has the only troop in the game that has a convert spell from the very first turn. But next up, we have Bull Taurus. Very powerful now that it got that buff, as I mentioned earlier. Now has a 1-to-1 ratio instead of that 1-to-2. The split damage to everyone. This team, you'll be getting a lot of extra HP buffs on it. Mercy does a lot of HP to the weakest, which whoever your first troop is likely will be your weakest since it takes skull damage and everything like that. Hellcat here. Hellcat here, who's going to be able to give mana to both Bull Taurus and Emperina. And Emperina even boosting that with a Fire Link if you happen to get it that high. And what really puts icing on the cake here is Emperina can give a full heal to other allies, which works superbly with Bull Taurus because he needs all of the HP he can for that 1-to-1 ratio on his attack, on his cast. So very, very powerful just for buffing up Bull Taurus pretty quick. You'll get Mercy hopefully filling up both Bull Taurus and Hellcat. Hellcat filling up both Bull Taurus and Emperina. And you kind of just go from there, and Bull Taurus will pretty much like 2 or 3 shot the enemy team. And lastly, Orion. Orion he used to be the weakest troop or legend in the game for the longest time. What is he now? He's still kind of there. I wouldn't say he's the weakest legend, but I'd definitely say he is still below average for the most part. What does he do? It's mostly because of how random he is. He deals 3 to a number damage to an enemy and then places Hunter's Mark on them, then gains 5 magic. But unlike Berserker, who increases both of these values, Orion, or Orion, you guys always say I keep saying it wrong. It's Orion. I keep calling him Orion. Orion. Oreos. Orion. Anyways. Tangenting. Orion doesn't increase his bottom value based on his magic. That 3 stays a 3 regardless of how high your magic gets. So it gets pretty random since you could do like 3 to 50, 3 to 100. Even then, he actually has the lowest benefit of any troop in the game for magic, which is why he actually gains 5 magic. So definitely his ability is still a little bit lackluster. It does get fairly strong if you get lucky. Like after a couple casts, you're doing like so much damage because of all that extra magic. You could do anything like 3 to like 40, 3 to 50, 3 to 60. And unless you get lucky, he's not going to do too much. And Hunter's Mark can easily be placed with something like either the other 2 wolves, which place it for either 6 or 12 mana. Which, given his mana cost, you wouldn't really need it too often, Orion. The main benefit that he has, of course, is his True Shot. There used to be a True Shot used to actually be 100% chance and used to be on several troops in the game, but that ended up being rescaled. And now Orion has the highest True Shot damage with skulls at 75%. I feel like if they just raise that all the way back to the original 100%, Orion will be able to really shine again. But currently in the current state, Orion, for the most part, if he's your only legend, definitely try him out. He's not horrible. But if you have other legends, you can pretty much just put him on the back seat. Unless you're going to go like a full Divinion Fields team like I showed earlier. You don't really need Orion that much. Well, let's actually get into a battle or two now. Now that I've gone over Divinion Fields. I still haven't done any PvP this week. These are going to be the first 2 battles. So let's start it off. Let's actually use the first 2 troops that we have. Or the common ones that we have set up here. So let's use our Mo right here with our complete drain team and see how it goes against this. As I stated earlier, that stone skin that Treant has is going to be blocking our initial skull damage. So our first attack's only going to do about like 8 damage when we get that down. So right here, actually the phone's ringing in my room right now. Hopefully that can't be heard on this microphone. It cancels out a lot, but I don't think it'll cancel that out. But as you just saw right there, we just did 8 damage, but now his traits are unactive. So now we can just take this skull, or actually we're going to take these reds, and now that will result in the skull, but now we'll do the full 17. because we stunned it and his traits aren't doing anything. So let's just take these skulls. And again, you'll see we do 17 despite it having stone skin because we have stunned it, which means his traits can't do anything at all. And Moloch, might as well just kill off the Trent right now with it. No need to keep it alive.
Mana surge.
Yeah, stun for the most part, you're going to want to be using it to try to counter troops that have really good abilities, of course, on their traits. Things that trigger a lot at the beginning, you don't really need to worry about too much. Like, for instance, this Glade Warden. The only thing we're actually going to be blocking with it, with his stun, is that armor piercing. His Elf Bond and Nature Spirit, which both trigger at the beginning of the game, both do trigger at the beginning of the game, and they don't, like, reoccur anytime during the match. So stunning these won't do anything, but only the armor piercing will be blocked. Anything that actually takes place during a match can be blocked. Everything else, it doesn't do anything since they've already triggered.
Mana surge.
So we have our mana drain up again, and we'll be able to use that right off the bat. This team would be really good against anything that doesn't use skull spam, since it can just keep taking out all of their mana. Plus, we have the stun in case they have like good skull abilities like his. That's a pretty good skull ability, 50% chance to do ignore skull damage, or ignore armor, I mean, when doing skull damage.
Mana surge. Mana
We just got double green there, and a free purple. He'll take some mana, won't really matter though. We'll get his stun off again, so that makes it impossible for him to get his armor piercing off. We'll drain their mana, bring them all down to 0 again. And right back to the stun. And since we set our mana to yellow, we'll easily be, or our banner to yellow, we'll be able to get this filled even without a surge. And we get a surge too. So now we'll be able to try out the ability, which, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't even gotten to cast yet. Well, all it is, of course, we already seen the stun many times. It's going to just place another stun. I might actually just kill it, use it to kill this Glade Warden right here. It doesn't seem to want to die to famine. Maybe I'll leave it alive, I guess. Let's just use it on... Let's see, which one of these is more of a threat? None of those will really do anything. We don't have silence, so we might as well use it on the Dryad. And the Dryad... Oh, that was interesting. Oh, that was interesting. It actually stunned before it did the effect. I'm pretty sure it still can't hit Selfie, though, because that would still trigger before it. But still, that's interesting. It did stun and then did the damage. So if they had something like that one that gives armor, 1+1 armor inscribed, when +1 armor whenever anything casts an ability, it might actually stop that then. That's kind of interesting. The reason we stun the Dryad instead is it has Nature Link, so that actually can trigger. Though he doesn't have any greens anymore, so it doesn't even matter at this point. Just got to get them dead, and that will be the match.
Mana surge.
So we'll use Famine right there. Which is almost the kill. We'll be able to fill it up with the Mo. Use this. Kill the one with the lower HP. And we hit right through that armor with true damage. And right now, all we need to do is get any damage on it, and that will be the game.
Mana surge.
There we go. We get to kill it with the event troop. Great. Oh, wait. Never mind. It has its ability. That was the first cast that got off all turn, or all match, and it was a pretty powerful one. Because now it has a barrier we have to deal with. Plus, we have to deal with the fact that it just healed itself. So we are going to do this. This will still stun, even though it has a shield, but we won't be doing any damage. Like you see right there, it did a stun, but the 15 did nothing.
Mana surge.
Due to the barrier that it had.
Mana surge.
So I'm actually going to wait before we cast our Scion. Mostly because, in case it gets mana. And it didn't, so we didn't even need to worry about that. We can actually finish it off with our Mo on the skull damage. Might as well. Keep stunning like crazy. Yeah, definitely get a Mo. It's basically the only thing that can stun right now. There is, of course, Stone Troll, but Mo is definitely very easy to obtain as a common. As long as you have 300 glory, you can get a Mo right now. Or 3 of them, actually. Since it gives 3 every single time you buy a pack. So let's do one more match. We're going to be up against a very interesting team. Looks like a Rawani team. I doubt the AI will cast correctly, though. But we're going to be facing it with an all-Centaur team and trying out the new Astral Spirit. As well as the buff Bull Taurus for any of you who haven't seen it yet. So we're using a little bit of everything in Divinion Fields. Of course, this is 4 Divinion Fields troops and 4 Centaurs. Centaurs was added in 2.01. Any of you console players like wondering, wait, what's a Centaur? Well, there was a lot of new status effects that were added when 2.01 went live on PC and mobile, and Centaurs one of the new ones. So let's actually use our new ability now, Astral Spirit, with the Astral Burst. There's a lot of options that you can do with this. Any of you who remember using Tyree, it's basically the same premise of how you use this as far as the board. You have to make sure you don't actually get the mana for the gems that you remove, but you are getting the board manipulation. So right here you can see there's purple there, purple there. I'm going to be taking both of these browns. Then again, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't need brown on anything, so that would be a bad move. Let's just take these skulls first, and then we can find a different move. If we needed browns, that would have been a good move, but we don't, so that would have been pointless of me to have done.
Mana surge.
So right here, we might actually just remove the browns instead. As you can see right here, we'll get some purples. I don't think we'll be getting mana anywhere else, but we'll just see where it falls. So we'll remove the browns. We don't need browns, so get them out of the way. You saw right there, 26 damage. It has a 1-to-2 ratio on every single gem that it removes. So we just did 6 extra damage there, I believe. Which means there's like 12 or 13 gems on the board. So right here, I think we're going to take these yellows. If we get a surge, we'll get both of them up, actually. And we do. And we actually have 2 really good things happening here. Since we have 4 yellows, we're getting +4 magic on our Astral Spirit, but we're also getting +4 magic on our... Oh, wait, never mind, I lied. We would have been getting +4 magic on our Centaur Scout. I forgot, I still don't have him traded. I ended up refunding him when he got nerfed a while back, and I forgot to retrade him. Oh, well. But we would have had +4 damage on him using this team. So we'll just take that. Already got the first skill. And getting a lot of cascades there. And right here, I think I'm going to go with our reds. I want to get Bull Taurus up. Couple different options we can do it with. Instead, I might actually just skip my turn and get a Hunter's Mark on the first group. We just got a 28 on that, actually. Wow. If you get lucky, wow, yeah. We were only doing 35 damage there, so 28 was pretty high for 3 to 35 damage that it just did. So sometimes you get lucky with Orion, sometimes you don't. His inconsistency is what makes him not viable in many teams. Same with the fact that his true shot's only a 75% chance instead of a full 100% chance. Okay, so here we'll actually be able to take a skull due to Hunter's Mark. I actually didn't end up explaining Hunter's Mark at all during this video, but most of you probably already know what it does. Hunter's Mark, whenever you do skull damage, does twice as much damage. So we just did 50 there instead of the 25 we should have done.
Mana surge.
Instead of just wasting our Centaur Scout ability on this green sphere here, we want to make sure we can take out Rawani some. So instead of casting either our Astral Spirit or Centaur Scout, we're just going to cast our Bull Taurus here with our Stampede. That'll be doing a lot of damage. 22 plus 56. That is a total of 78 damage there. Quite a bit. So yeah, we actually hit the hero with the most of that. Rawani will do a little bit. She still had 11 armor left, but we were able to take quite a bit of it out. So let's use our Centaur Scout. Don't really see a particularly good location. So let's just do it right here. Get some extra skull damage in it as well. Because every skull you destroy does an additional 1 damage as well. So right here, I'm actually thinking about just removing the reds. We'll get an extra turn right there, as you can see with the greens. Plus, we'll get that skull. Oh, and even more greens over there. So I'll definitely fill up Orion. And we don't even waste a turn doing it. Plus, we get some skulls somewhere. I wasn't even paying attention to that. So we got a lot out of that. So here we can actually test our luck. I'm not going to bother with a skull since we can kill it by other means, but we're going to test our luck right here if it would give us a turn already. Oh, come on. Never mind. I lied. Never mind. I'll let it. Let's just test our luck. I want to see. Can we kill with a 3 out of 40? Can we kill 34 HP? Probably not, but we might as well see. Let's see. Yeah, 26. That's a little bit of the inconsistency that Orion has. You're either going to get very lucky or very not lucky. But we had our fun with it. Let's just kill it out with a Centaur cast. And that will end that match. So that is Divinion Fields, and probably one of the better teams to make in Divinion Fields. Definitely a strong team to consider. Astral Spirit, I absolutely love. I'm going to be trying that with a lot of other teams later in this week. But that'll wrap it up for this video. Leave a like if you found this helpful. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.